I didn't feel like I was good enough for anything or anyone or even to live. Life at 7 years old is amazing. I used to go visit my dad when I was young. I visit him every weekend. He lived about an hour away, and we just play all these games and he'd teach me about life. I was so happy. And at 7 years old, I also found out that was the year that my dad ended his life. I was kind of sad, but I just didn't understand. My friends at school would tell me that I was bipolar, and they would tell me, are you sure you're okay? And I was just so in denial, and I just completely was oblivious to how I was feeling. I told myself that I was fine. My dad used to live with my grandma, so I still used to go visit her every weekend. My grandma was such a loving woman. I just always felt so important every time that I went over there. At 11 years old, I lost my grandma to breast cancer. This broke me. And I didn't understand. I was only 11. I knew that I was in pain. She was the one that kept our family together. After she was gone, my entire sense of family completely fell apart. During this time, because I was constantly at my mom's house, I started to become aware how miserable I was living with my mom. I was so depressed, and I hated living with my mom. My mom and I never got along. She has schizophrenia, so it's really hard for her to grasp reality. I was basically raising myself. I had to cook my own food. I had to figure out where I was going to get the money for food. I had to figure out, everything. I had to do it on my own. As you can imagine, that put a lot of weight on me. At the same time, since I was no longer receiving love from my dad, from my grandma, so I got my first boyfriend. I thought that that's what I needed to be happy and to receive love. And boy, was I wrong. Right as we were about to go into middle school, he broke up with me. We were dating for about a year, so as you can imagine, I was very attached, and I did not handle it well. I just completely lost my sense of self. I got so depressed. I had lost most of my friends, and I just felt so alone. I remember I used to spend most of my lunches and my breaks sitting by myself, and at the time I didn't feel comfortable being alone, especially in public. Seeing everybody else with their friends and seeing, people having so much fun, and I just didn't have anyone. That just made me even more depressed, and it made things worse. One night, I got in a really bad fight with my mom, and it got really physical. She told me that I was a mistake, that I shouldn't have been born. I remember thinking about that night, just crying and crying so much. I didn't feel like I was good enough for anything or anyone or even to live. And I just felt so much pain in my heart, and I wanted it to end, and I wanted to distract myself with the pain, and that was the day that I first self-harmed. Now, a lot of people don't understand why people self-harm, and if that's you, you should be so grateful that you've never had such bad pain where you have to find something else, like self-harming, to make the pain go away. Because that's why I did it. I was in so much pain that I needed something to distract me. I needed something to make me feel good, because nothing was working. I was alone. I had no one to talk to. I didn't know what to do. So I started to self-harm, and I got addicted. And I used to wear these bracelets all the way up to here so that I could hide it. And it became a habit that every time I felt pain, I would just cut. Then things got really bad. I used to walk home from school every day, and these 10 or so boys, and they'd be walking with me, and they just yell things out, that I'm a bitch, that I'm ugly, to throw newspapers at me. Little machines where you can get newspapers, and they take out the whole thing and start throwing them at me. They thought it would be funny for all of them to get together and push me into the street so that I could get run over by a car. And just thinking to myself that, oh, maybe I deserve this. Maybe I deserve to die. Maybe I should get run over, and I just let it happen to me. That's the first time that I started really having suicidal thoughts. I just felt like everywhere I went, everything that I interacted with, I was getting physically or emotionally abused. Whether it was at school, whether it was at home, whether it was in my mind, I was just constantly getting tormented and just felt like I was having more and more reasons to not be alive. Then high school rolled around and I started feeling a little better of how I can kind of cope a little bit. I felt like I was in a better place. I started getting that kind of happy feeling, happy energy, and I just started to be myself again, and I started to feel good. And then by the end of the year, the guy I was dating at the time pointed out to me that I didn't have a lot of friends, and that I should go out there and make some friends. And we ended up getting in a really bad fight. It made me feel so shitty about not being able to make friends and didn't understand that it was hard for me. I deal with a lot of social anxiety, so talking to people and everything has been a challenge for me. At the same time, I had this teacher. She was my biology teacher, and she pulled me aside. She told me that I shouldn't even bother being in honors next year, that I had no chance. And she just started telling me how stupid I was and how I wasn't good enough. Also, my speech teacher told me that I had too much energy. He told me that I needed to calm it down, and he actually ended up making me cry, and I ended up getting banned from the tournaments, and that just completely lost all my motivation in school. And then at home, my mom was telling me that I was getting fat, and she was telling me that I was getting annoying, and she'd always yell at me when I had all this high energy. All these things just started coming into my head more and more, and I just started thinking about them, giving them so much meaning. I started thinking that I wasn't good enough, started to believe that I wasn't capable of making friends, that I wasn't smart enough for school, that I wasn't good enough for people. I didn't feel normal anymore, and I thought that something was wrong with me. Sophomore year rolls around and I get introduced to weed. That made me feel really good, and I started becoming really dependent on it. I was still depressed. Smoking really helped me forget that. So by my junior year, I started making a lot more friends, and I just started going out a lot more. I was like never home. That kind of got me through the year. And then my senior year rolls around. Halfway through my senior year, I turned 18. And I had this huge fight with my mom, and she told me that I had to start paying rent, and she told me I had to start paying for the bills. But the thing was, she wouldn't let me get a job. I ended up moving in with my aunt, and this was such a blessing. And I saw what it was like to live in a healthy environment and seeing people support each other and love each other and cook good meals and just enjoy life and not have that stress and worry and fear that I always lived with. I just wanted that for myself. After I graduated high school, I ended up moving out to go to college. I moved 6 hours away with the guy I was dating. I was away from, all the negativity and just everything. This really helped me find who I was. And that's when I started my personal development journey. But at the same time, I was in a toxic relationship. The guy I was dating had a lot of anger issues, so I was always confused on what he was going to do next. Like, was he going to hurt himself? Was he going to hurt me? What was going on? And I was constantly in fear and up on my edge, so I couldn't be completely comfortable with where I was. I was also working like crazy, and I was trying to go to school, and I was just trying to do all this stuff. That was super overwhelming to me. One night, it was really late at night, and he was drunk. I found out that he had cheated with one of my friends. It just really hurt me so much. I had moved in with this guy and there was a lot of other things that we had been going through, and just I kept pushing it like, okay, everything's fine, like this is no big deal, you know, he won't do this again. And when this happened, it just tore me up inside. Felt like I had no other option, so I tried to end my life. I was like, you know what, my life isn't going anywhere. You know, I had just dropped out of school. I had to get a second job. Like, I don't even know what I want to do with my life. Like, I don't want to waitress, you know, every single day, and I just feel like I'm not smart enough to go to school, and you know, my relationship isn't going well, and I just felt like nothing in my life was going well. I just didn't see a point in living anymore. After the fact that I had survived and I made it out of that, it just woke me up. And I was like, what are you doing? And I asked myself, like, why are you letting this happen? In that moment, I just realized my worth. I could have such a better life, and I wanted that so bad, and that's what kept me to go. I was like, I'm determined to somehow, somewhere in this world, there's a better life for me out there. I remember I was on a walk and I just ran into this video on YouTube from Brendan Bouchard, and he was talking about positivity, and he was just talking about his story and how he almost died, and I just was so inspired by that, and it just made me feel so good to watch his videos. I became obsessed with watching his videos, and I just, every single day, every time I was walking or I was going on my way to work, I was at the gym or whatever I was doing, I would listen to his videos, and every single time I just felt like I was like on this positive high. I actually started reading my first book. So it's kind of crazy. Before I moved out of my mom's house, hear me out, I've never been a reader. I hated reading in school. Like, if you gave me a book, I was like, hell no, I'm not reading that. I looked over at the bookshelf and I saw this book. And I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy when I think about it now. I just had this feeling I was being pulled towards this book. This was actually my mom's book, and I took it. I didn't take any other book with me. I just took this book, and it's The Art of Living Consciously. I started listening to all these videos and all this positivity. Just knew that for some reason I had to read this book. It just felt like the right time. And I just loved this book, and I took like so many notes. It took me a while to read it because I'm not a reader, but I just really liked it. It ended up getting me to get my first book myself, which is How to Be a Badass by Jen Scenario. Really made me fall in love with reading. So that helped me on my journey so much. It just inspired me to learn more about personal development. At the same time, one of my best friends told me about this movie, The Secret. All these things just started coming to me on personal development. I started getting this happiness. I just felt like I was here for a reason and I could live a happy life. When our lease ended, we decided to split. Luckily, my best friend, she asked her parents if I could move in with her until I could get back on my feet and find a place. It was the day before I had to move, and I still had no idea. I had asked everybody I knew. I had a place to go to, but I just didn't know how I was gonna get there. It was too late to take a plane, or I couldn't take an Uber because it's 6 hours away, and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And I just started crying all day long. That was the day that I lost myself again. It's kind of weird to explain. I ended up figuring it out. I had somebody come pick me up, luckily, and I moved in with my best friend. I moved there for 6 months or so, and I just still felt like I lost myself. There was just like part of me that was so broken, and I was just like, I just want to feel good how I was feeling. And I tried so hard to get back to that. Couldn't. Another year went by and I ended up moving again. I started getting depressed again. But I knew deep down there was more to life because I had experienced for that short little while that I could be happy, that I could live a good life. So I want to talk about some important things that I had to do in order to really let go and finally be happy. Like I talked about in the beginning, I had these beliefs. I wasn't smart enough because my teacher freshman year told me I wasn't good enough, and I believed that. I thought I was fat and I had like this distorted body image because my mom was constantly telling me that I was fatty and guys were telling me that I was ugly, and I believed that. I had this belief that I couldn't make friends. That created my social anxiety because of what my ex said and all these other situations. I started realizing that isn't reality. I can change that all within my mind, because before they had told me that, I didn't have those beliefs. I stopped giving those old thought patterns attention, and I started giving these new thoughts more of my attention. Instead of telling myself that my life sucks, I have a terrible past, and like that's just my life will always suck, I started focusing on what I can create for myself and how I can grow and change, and that everything that I needed was already within me. I started to accept who I was. I'm a high energy person. I can be loud, I can be silly, I can be crazy, I can be weird. This is who I am. Even with my flaws, this is just who I am. This is all that I have. I am so unique and I am so different. I stopped comparing myself because I started to realize that that's them. I don't want to be them. I want to be me. I want to be different. I don't need validation from anybody as long as I have love and validation for myself. Because the moment that I stop looking for validation from others is really when you start to have that self-love for yourself. I also had to accept my past. Everybody is doing their best. For so long, I've held this hate for my past. I've held this hate for my mom, and I've held this hate for all of those who have hurt me. All those people were just doing the best that they know how. And I can't change that. I can only change how I view them now. Everything that I went through was just a lesson, and I'm so grateful for everything that I just talked about. I'm so grateful that I went through all of that, because I look back now and I realize what I learned from it. If I hadn't been lonely in high school, I hadn't gone through everything that I went through, I wouldn't be where I am today. I really wouldn't. I was able to mature so much faster and able to really figure out who I am a lot faster than most people. I just started having so much more compassion for me and being kind to myself. While I was also taking care of my health and changing my relationships and changing everything, the most important thing that helped me stop thinking those suicidal thoughts and really get out of my depression was my mindset and how I viewed certain things, because things are constantly coming at me. There's lots of things in my life that I could complain about. Instead, I find the light in them and I find the positivity. You know, I know a lot of people are like, just find the positive thing out of this. But like, honestly, there's miracles all around this, and it took me so long to realize this. I'm grateful that I have this experience now, and that's just all that I want for the world. I decided to become a health coach myself because I just know how important it is to take care of not only your physical health, but your mental health and your mindset. And if you can believe in yourself and treat yourself as your best friend, it can change your life. That's how I got to where I am today. Now I have this new sense of energy and I just feel so high on life. I know this video is kind of long, but I just really wanted to tell my story to you guys so you can really understand. Hopefully some of you can relate to my story. We can connect, and I'd love to hear your guys' story. If you guys have any questions or you want to share your thoughts on this video, this is my Instagram right here. I'll drop a link in the description as well. If you guys want to see more videos, I post videos every Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be talking more about health, mental health, physical health. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this story inspires you or makes you feel appreciative about your own life. You are important. This life needs you, and you're here for a reason.